Hello friends. So now I'm going to start the new chapter Organs of Government. It's a new important chapter here. There are three organs of our government. The first organ is legislature. What's the duty of legislature? You all know that to frame the law. The second organ is the executive. What's the duty of executive? We also know that executive has to see that the implementation of the law is being properly maintained. And the third organ is the judiciary. So judiciary has to see that if any kind of the obstacle may arise in the implementation of the law, it may remove. So in that way you can understand very well that all the organs have their respective powers, functions and activities. So no one is interfering in each other's activities. That you have to remember here. Right, my friends? So for us it is more important to know. Generally, why the government is working here? If we understand that why the government is coming in existence, the government is coming in existence to maintain the law and order. It means they have to maintain the law and order properly. So due to that, the country may remain in the discipline and the achievement of the welfare for the nation become easy. One thing more, mutual cooperation, freedom, fundamental rights, these are the basic essential for we all. And in that way, the progressive development of the state is essential for we all. So in that way, government is looking for our actual real development, and it is properly taken in care by government with mutual coordination with other organs of government. So we have already understood earlier which organ is doing which activity, right? So it is not required to repeat again. But one more point I want to discuss, the principle of division of power. See, every organ has their own power, and neither any organ is interfering each other's activity. So by the division of power, misusing of power is being restricted or avoided, and directly concentration over their work become easy. So here it is necessary to understand the principle of division of power. By that way, functioning of the organs of government become more easy. See, if you think the judiciary is under control of executive, then what will happen? Time to time fair and transparent judgments may not possible. So justice may not reach to the people. Second, if the executive is under the control of the judiciary, then what? Think. In that situation, what will happen? In that situation, the country will directly come under the control of the judiciary. The ministers, prime minister, everybody has to take the permission from the courts to take even a small steps. It is not possible. So by looking to all these necessities, our constitution has divided every organ's powers simultaneously, so no one could misuse their powers and no one can execute their powers in over capabilities, so may not be arise any confusion in implementation of power is possible here. Right, my friends? So understand very carefully, every organ of the government is working independently and nobody is under anyone's control. Right? So now here I want to start to discuss legislature. See, if I want to discuss the legislature, then first I have to explain the legislature's structure. Who are consisted in our legislature? In India, legislature mainly by parliament consisted with Lok Sabha, the lower house, Rajya Sabha, the upper house, President of India and Vice President of India. So in that way, Parliament is the essential part of the legislature at the central level. At the same way, in state level, Legislative Assembly is the most essential part. So in both the way, central level and state level, both can take their appropriate steps respectively according to their powers and their regions. So now we must understand the types of the legislature. Some situation in which only one house is in any legislature, maybe in parliament, maybe in the state level. If only one house is, then it is called unicameral legislature. Means the legislature is owned by one house. Second, where the legislature is divided in two houses, it is called bicameral house. And bicameral house is always important to see that upper house and lower house. Usually in our parliament in India is bicameral. Rajya Sabha is the upper house and Lok Sabha is the lower house. But in some states also, sometime there are also two houses, upper house and lower house. The lower house is called Legislative Assembly and upper house is called Legislative Council. Legislative Assembly means Vidhan Sabha and Legislative Council means the Vidhan Parishad. So in whichever the state there are two houses, it is called upper house is Legislative Council, Vidhan Parishad, and lower house is called Vidhan Sabha, the Legislative Assembly. States like Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra has legislative councils. But if I am talking about Gujarat state, it has only one house. It is Legislative Assembly. So usually states are administered by unicameral legislature, but our central government or the central level administration is run by bicameral legislature. Right, my friends? So here I have tried to discuss about the types of legislature with you. So now I am going to discuss about parliament at the central level. See, if I want to discuss about parliament, then I must discuss first about structure of parliament. there are 545 members in parliament, mostly in the Lok Sabha. Means the parliament has two houses, as I have stated earlier, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So here we are discussing first about the Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha is our lower house in the parliament, which has maximum 545 members, 545 members. But out of these 545 members, 2 members are appointed by President of India as per the advice of central government, and these 2 members are appointed from Anglo-Indian community. Remember, these 2 members are appointed from Anglo-Indian community. So, if I want to discuss about parliament, then I must remember president also, because president is also considered to be part of the parliament. So without the decision taken by the president, neither any implementation of any decision is possible. So remember the importance of the president here. Okay. When the election is taking place in Lok Sabha, usually it happens by term of every 5 years, and at the end of term of every 5 years, the decision is being properly followed and implemented. So here the decisions are implemented properly by signing any judgment, as the court is signing the judgment. Same way in parliament, any decision is taken by parliament will be implemented by signing by president. So the president is also considered as integral part of parliament. Okay. Now I want to discuss the structure of parliament, how the parliament or the basically Lok Sabha is structured. As I have stated that Lok Sabha is coming in existence after every 5 years. So for the 5 years term, the same Lok Sabha will work. Every year the parliament will not change, because to elect the 543 members, it's a very laborious work, time consuming work and expensive work. So it is continued for every 5 years. Okay. One thing more, the president has some powers regarding the legislature that I am discussing now. President has a first power is to give a speech in new term of every parliament. They can call the parliament or summon the parliament together. Second, they can withhold the proceedings of a house. Withhold means if the house is in working condition, but the president has power to stop the working of the house anytime when he feels. Okay, sometimes he feels that the administration is not possible to continue in proper way, so he can dissolve the parliament also. All these things are giving us clear indication that the president is completely maximum power having part of the parliament. So his decision is directly creating impact over the execution of work of parliament properly. Okay, one thing more. Here the 5 years term is, I have stated just before, it means the Lok Sabha is not a permanent house. Permanent house is that kind of house in which whole house cannot dissolve. Only some partial numbers of the members will time by time change. That is permanent house. But here parliament is having a term of 5 years. So after every 5 years the complete parliament will be newly elected. That is the important thing we have to understand. Okay. Mostly it is completing its term of 5 years, but if in mid time of the term, if the president feel that the government is not properly working, then president has power to dissolve the house even in the continuation term also. So within the 5 years term he can dissolve the complete parliament and re-elect the parliament. He can direct our election commission who is monitoring the process of the election of the parliament. He can direct to them to call the new parliament. So by that situation the new election will be taken place and the new parliament will be elected. So in that way you can understand parliament is Lok Sabha is not permanent house, and after every 5 years term Lok Sabha is newly elected. Okay, one thing more. Here sometimes the question may comes in mind of the student that who is supreme in this situation when the parliament is also possible to dissolve? Then who is supreme? So the ultimate supreme power is the Constitution of India. Remember, the Constitution of India is the ultimate supreme power. We all are getting our rights, our duties, and every functioning part of the administrative system of Indian governments at the state level and the central level both are getting their power and duties respectively from the Constitution. So in that way Constitution is sole supreme in our democratic system. If any law is framed by the parliament which is violating the constitution's boundary, then in that case, see here, that is the importance I am saying. In that situation, the parliament has already made the law. President has signed the law, but our awakened citizens can go to the court, mostly in the Supreme Court, to show them the violation of the Constitution's limitations. So in that situation, if Constitution is not properly followed by implementing the law, in that situation the law could also be challenged in the court, and in that situation the Supreme Court can nullify the law. Nullify means cancel the implementation of law, and Supreme Court can direct the parliament to make proper changes in law so it could properly implemented under the bindings of the Constitution. So in that way no one is supreme than Constitution. That is the important thing here, right? There is a check and balance method in distribution of power in Indian Constitution has been implemented. It is the beauty of our Constitution that no one could get all powers in their hands forever. Okay. Here we have discussed about framing of the Constitution. Now I want to discuss about qualification of membership in Lok Sabha. Generally, Lok Sabha is framed after every 5 years term, and after election is taken throughout in India, all citizens can, by the age of 18 years, who is eligible to vote, can cast the vote, and by that way our Lok Sabha could come in existence. Minimum requirement of the age for contesting election in a Lok Sabha, minimum 25 years. For casting the vote, age is 18 years. And if any person is having more than one house membership, maybe in the Vidhan Sabha, maybe in the Vidhan Parishad, maybe in the Rajya Sabha, and he want to contest the election in Lok Sabha. Okay, he had contested election, but after being elected, he has to resign from any of other house. He has to take decision, would like to continue or not. Another point, usually the president has power to dissolve the Lok Sabha on the advice of Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers. A member sitting in the any of the house can present in the proceedings in a respective house if he is in the ministry. So usually any minister can present in the Lok Sabha throughout in the term of working level. Okay, from Gujarat there are 26 members elected in every term of Lok Sabha, and they are working for awareness about the important duties they have to obey for the welfare of the people living in Gujarat. So here you understand very well that the Lok Sabha is having many more powers, but neither any power is supreme than Constitution. That is the important point. Okay, now here I want to add one more point. Neither any poor criminal could contest the election, neither any central government employee could contest the election. So 25 years age, neither any criminal, neither any employee of the state government or the central government. These are the restrictions and qualifications for contesting election in Lok Sabha for the membership. Okay. Now another point you have to remember, that any insolvent means who is unable to pay the dues on his own capabilities, he is called insolvent. He cannot contest the election. Right? If the unsound mind person is found as per the doctor's medical examination, if anyone is an unsound mind person, he also cannot allow to contest the election. So these are the basic. And one more point, if the person is not a citizen of India as per the Citizen of India Act, if any person is not a citizen of India, he cannot contest the election. So first any outsider has to fulfill the requirement and has to become the citizen of India. Thereafter he could contest the election. Right, my friends? So now another point I want to discuss here. It is about quorum. 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 Quorum is the word. It shows minimum required number of the members of the House of Parliament at time of every proceedings of the House in working time. See, if the House is not in working position, then how many members are coming in Parliament is not important. But when the term of is exist and the working days of the Parliament is going on, and if minimum 110 means 10% of the total members minimum required to be presented in the House when any day proceedings are going on, means out of the 545, minimum 55 members are required in the Lok Sabha, and for Rajya Sabha there are total 250 members. but out of 250 members, minimum 25 members is essential to be presented in the house of the Rajya Sabha. So in both the way, in Lok Sabha and in Rajya Sabha, at the both the places, the quorum is compulsorily required to be followed. Right? If the quorum is not followed, the work of the any house in parliament cannot come in procedure. So at that time, the head or the chairman or the speaker of the Lok Sabha and the in Rajya Sabha, the chairman, will declare that house is not in quorum. So today's proceedings will not continue up to the quorum may come in existence. So it shows the importance of existence of minimum 10% requirement of the members. Right, my friends? So here I have discussed with you about qualifications, quorum, structure of the Lok Sabha, and legislatures types, as well as principle of division of powers. Everything I have discussed with you here, my friends. So we will continue in other part about remain topics. Okay, my friends. So here I am concluding my lecture today. Okay.